Jacob Burton here from the Stella Culinary School podcast, found online at stellaculinary.com. And in today's video, I'll be demonstrating how to make a classic, simple, and delicious steak tartare. Now, I like to start using high-grade cuts of steak, and here I have the head and the tail portion of the beef tenderloin, and this is basically scrap that I had generated when I was fabricating the beef tenderloin into fillets of beef or filet mignon. And you can usually pick up the head and the tail scraps at your local supermarket, and they'll sell them for a discounted price. And you want to start by trimming down the silver skin and any sort of fat on the exterior, and then sandwich that piece of meat between the palm of your hand and the cutting board, and draw your knife blade through, making some thin horizontal slices, making sure that you're using the full length and the sharp edge of your knife blade to really do the work for you. Now, once you've made these horizontal cuts and basically cut this about 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch thick, you want to go back and stack them on top of one another, cut into long strips, and then these long strips are going to be cut crosswise into a dice. This is just your basic brunoise and dice technique. Now, for me personally, I prefer the texture of hand-diced or hand-brunoise steak tartare. I'm not really a big fan of the ground version, but some people like to grind it. If you do, hey, whatever floats your boat. Me, I prefer I like the little bigger chunks, so you want to go through and hand-dice it, and this way you don't need a grinder either. Now, a little efficiency of movement trick is when preparing a large portion, like I have here, you want to do all of your horizontal cuts first, stack them up, line them up, then go back and do all of your vertical and strip cutting second, and then set them all aside, line them up like good little soldiers. And then once you've cut all of your strips, you're going to go back and cross cut into your dice. And splitting the cutting techniques up in this fashion is going to make it a lot more efficient. You're going to get it done faster. Now, once you've prepped all of your steak tartare, you want to pack it as tightly as possible into a food-safe plastic container, and then press a piece of plastic wrap right down on top of that surface. And this is going to keep it from oxidizing, because if it is exposed to oxygen for too long, it's going to turn an unappetizing gray. Now, here I'm cutting a couple slices of our house white bread, but you can use any bread that you like. And I'm going to hit that with a little bit of clarified butter. You can use olive oil, canola oil, whole butter spread, whatever floats your boat, and toast that in the oven. Now, while the bread's toasting, I'm going to spoon out a portion of the minced steak tartare that we have here, and then start to season. You can season it however you like, but some classic seasonings are finely minced red onions, some whole capers, a little bit of Dijon-Mustard. Also, some prepared horseradish is optional, but if you like a nice little kick to your steak tartare, I think you'll enjoy it, so by all means add it. And then you're just going to season with a little bit of a freshly ground black pepper. And this is, again, to taste. You want to taste as you're going. And then salt, and I prefer Fleur de Sel. And Fleur de Sel is a French style of sea salt with a very delicate crystal structure that kind of pops and is crunchy in your mouth. It gives almost a sweet taste. Mix all this together, give it a little taste, double check for seasoning, and then finish with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And yes, I am a mumble mouth, and I will be getting emails about that. And then mix that in. When I taste it off camera, it tastes a little too mustardy to me, so I'm just going to cut that with a little bit more steak tartare. And then from here, it's time to serve. I'm not a big fan of packing things into ring molds usually, but it's pretty classic with the steak tartare. And what else are you going to do with it? Just kind of pile it up on the plate? It's, not very appetizing. So this is going to give it some form. So go ahead and press it down into the ring mold and remove the ring mold. And then I'm going to garnish. A lot of people will actually garnish with a raw egg yolk, which is fine, and I actually enjoy that. But today I wasn't really feeling it, so I'm just going to do a little bit of frisée dressed with our house vinaigrette. And you can use any vinaigrette you like. I'll put a link to the vinaigrette in the show notes. But the frisée is going to give you a nice bitter crunch that's going to help contrast nicely with the steak tartare. Drizzle on a little bit of good extra virgin olive oil. Shingle those toast points right next to the steak tartare. And because I like capers, I decided I'm going to garnish with a little more capers. And that's pretty much it, a very classic version of steak tartare. And for this episode's show notes, you can go to stellaculinary.com/TCD8. Some previous video techniques that are related to this one are how to clean frisée, and the frisée is what we used for our garnish. Also, how to mince red onion, and this is important to make sure your red onion doesn't bleed out everywhere and lose its flavor. Also, how to butcher a beef tenderloin, and it was the scraps from our beef tenderloin, the head and the tail, that we used to make our tartare today. And also how to make our sourdough brown bread. And even though we served the tartare with the white bread in the video, the sourdough brown bread, especially since it contains rye bread is a very classic pairing with steak tartare. So you can check out that recipe by clicking on that video. Also, make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe to Stella Culinary on YouTube and tell your family and friends. Culinary school is now free.